Welcome to the Flourishing Journey podcast as we facilitate a series called the AHA Leader. This series is dedicated to school leaders who are courageous enough to look in the mirror and curious enough to keep growing. Every leader has blind spots, those unseen areas that quietly shape our decisions, influence our teams, and affect our school culture in ways we don't always realize. Yet awareness brings clarity, and clarity brings growth. In each episode, we'll uncover common leadership blind spots, those hidden habits, assumptions, and patterns that may be holding us back. Together, we'll turn those blind spots into aha moments that lead to greater wisdom, stronger teams, and more flourishing schools. I'm your host, Rachael Jones, as I collaborate with Dr. Edward Bunn by inviting you to lean in, look deeper, and lead with fresh vision. Hello, flourishing practitioners. Welcome to the third episode of a 9-episode leader series on recognizing blind spots and making appropriate adjustments. Today's episode is called Mission Drift Through Busyness, where we learn to recognize when our mission begins to drift and explore strategies for helping our teams stay aligned with the school's Christ-centered mission. Welcome back, Edward.
Hey, thanks, Rachel. Very excited today to talk about the value of mission and also the importance of protecting it.
Me too. This is such an important topic for us to explore today because many of us can relate with how busy life gets when you are in a leadership position. So, can you unpack for me how you recognize when day-to-day operational demands, which oftentimes are both urgent and important, are
Yes.
pulling you away from your school's mission?
Yeah, great question. So, you know, and thinking about mission drift, I believe it often shows up very subtly, right? The pace gets faster as you described in your question. Conversations get more tactical. And suddenly that energy that once centered around growth or purpose and even student formation kind of shifts towards just keeping up, maintaining, trying to survive, right? And we tend to notice the language changing. Meetings may become more about logistics than about learning or school culture or even the people that we get to do life with. And specifically for Christian schools, that means losing sight of both our spiritual and our educational calling to cultivate students, to lead, to learn, to really live with purpose. A simple diagnostic question I think we can ask is this: are we still shaping lives or are we just managing programs? When the work feels efficient but maybe less impactful, I think that can be our red flag.
So, to dig down a little deeper in that question, do you have specific strategies that you can share that will help leaders distinguish between urgent tasks and truly important work?
Yeah, that's a good follow up. And urgency is the issue, right? So urgency has a great way of masquerading as importance. I think the best leaders learn to pause and ask, will this really matter in 5 years? Will this matter down the road? If not, it probably belongs lower on the list. I also like to categorize tasks by mission impact. What I mean by that is if it strengthens learning, leadership, school culture, it's worth protecting time for. And personally, sometimes I'll schedule thinking time into my week because I've learned that clarity, it rarely comes in the middle of chaos. I think Jesus, he modeled this well for us. He stepped away from the crowd to realign with his purpose. Whether we're faith-based or not, that rhythm of stepping back is truly essential to staying focused on what truly matters. I remember talking with a university president whose mission at the university was very student centric. And he would often ask, how does this benefit our students? When he was making decisions, considering programs and overall school culture, how does what we're getting ready to do or what we're planning or what we're thinking about, how does it ultimately benefit the students? And in asking that question, he stayed targeted to mission without getting caught up in the chaos of urgency.
That's great. Especially, yeah, how you incorporate those different strategies into continuing to bring that mission forward. Um, how would you intentionally keep your team aligned so that, as leaders, we have personal strategies for keeping ourselves aligned to the school's Christ-centered mission, but how, as a leader, do you keep your team aligned with the school's Christ-centered mission amid very busy schedules during the school year?
Yeah, so I guess first maybe for me is a philosophical statement that has practical implications, and that's this. Alignment doesn't happen by accident. It happens by design. And so I think it's important to weave the mission into daily habits, like beginning meetings by reconnecting to purpose, highlighting stories where students are thriving academically or growing in their character and spiritual formation, and regularly asking our teams, how does this decision move us closer to our mission? Does this decision even align with our mission? People need to see that what they do connects to why they do it, and this is an important part of our leadership. So when leaders celebrate progress, they communicate purpose consistently, model balance between excellence and care. I think it keeps everyone rowing in the same direction. And that direction, hopefully, is toward a vision of flourishing students and even just an overall thriving school community.
Yeah, those are great points. And thank you for all the practical tips that you shared. What I heard you say is really it takes intentionality, both internal reflection, asking yourself, are we aligned? Why are we doing this? What is our Christ-centered mission? Why do we get up every day and go to work? But then also helping your team to do the same, just asking those questions, asking them to reflect as well, and leading them and modeling that for them. So really great points. As we close this up, is there anything else that you would share with teachers who are and leaders who are in the midst of just very busy but very important work in Christian schools?
Yeah. So I think the word that comes to mind in closing is joy. Have joy in the mission. Have joy aligning everything back to the mission, and then enjoy the fruit of your labor. Some things we'll see immediately, some fruit, we may not see until later. But have joy knowing that you've been called to the mission that you're currently in, and that what you do truly matters. So enjoy the mission.
Well, thank you so much, Edward, for journeying with us today around the importance of intentionally focusing on our Christ-centered mission.
Yeah, I always love doing this and talking about these aha moments and, leaning into our mission and then protecting that mission is so important for all of us as leaders.
Absolutely. Well, join us next month where we continue our leadership series with episode 4 called Communication Echo Chambers, where we explore strategies for clear communication that leads to collaboration and clarity.
This episode was part of a 9-part series called The Aha Leader, uncovering common leadership blind spots and turning them into aha moments that lead to greater wisdom, stronger teams, and more flourishing schools. Catch every episode of this series and the entire Flourishing Journey podcast at acsi.org/podcasts.